Okay, no problem. You see, first of all, you notice that Atul, yes, you have done. I saw that you have done that. Uh, Ankit, have you done that proof, by the way? Cos 1 degree is irrational. Ankit, are you saying something? No. Okay, you're not saying something, or you haven't done the proof. Not done. Nobody.
No, sir, I haven't done it yet.
Okay. Yes, idea depends on one simple fact. For example, if I consider cos 1 degree,
So will the calculation go long?
no calculation. I mean, not much calculation actually. We did not have to calculate anything in this case, but we just prove. The usual idea is what? The usual idea to prove something to be rational or irrational is to do it by contradiction. We start by assuming that, okay, let us say that it is rational number, then try to see what happens subsequently, isn't it? First of all, it is quite easy to see that if I assume that cos 1 degree is rational, let us suppose that if I assume that cos of 1 degree is rational, in that case, it's quite obvious that cos of 2 degree is going to be rational as well. Onik, what's the trouble? Nobody's answering you. So what other people are? Is my voice cracking? Nothing is happening. So I
Yes,
need
sir.
to change the network. Okay. Apply a double angle formula for cos 2 theta, or we just know that 1 plus cos 2 theta by 2 is nothing but cos square theta actually, which implies I could write cos, or we can just apply a direct formula. We know that cos of 2 theta is nothing but 2 cos square theta minus 1. So I just write down in this fashion. 2 cos square 1 degree minus 1, because by assumption cos of 1 degree is rational, therefore cos 2 degree is also going to be rational. Okay. Now there is a very useful result if I consider something like if I just look at cos of uh,
So 45 degree.
what 45 degree?
So cos 45 degree, it will give a irrational result.
What? So what? I haven't yet done anything by the way. You have to first at least get some idea. So okay, cos 1 degree is rational, therefore cos 2 degree is also rational. So how do you get cos 2 degree then by the way? I mean cos 2
No,
degree
no, sir,
can
I am
be
telling, can't we go from cos 2 degree to cos 45 degree by somehow?
that is the point. How we go, how going to go? That's the question is. If we go from cos 2 degree to cos 3 degree to cos 4 to cos 5 to cos whatever, I need not go cos 45. I can just stick with cos 30 degree itself. Cos 30 degree root 3 by 2, which is irrational. In fact, cos 15 degree is also irrational. But anyway, so somehow I need to go from cos 1, cos 2 to cos at least cos 15. That much I know. We can definitely evaluate cos. Well, 15 degree will be fine enough. But I can just to make it
So
easier
we
go
can
to
use
20
the
degree.
sum of
What?
angles.
What?
Means when the angles are in AP, that formula.
But that gives a sum. It gives a summation. It doesn't talk about the other. I would say it will just give some of the numbers, isn't it? When this is AP, then what you have when you apply that formula, you get the sum actually. No. Anyway, let's see. We could apply in this case, for example, if I consider n being a natural number, if I just consider cos of n plus 1 degree, cos of n minus 1 degree. I mean, they are all in degrees, so let us not write down. Okay, let me write down. Otherwise, I get confused over there. We apply the formula for cos c plus cos b, or cos a plus b plus cos a minus b, whatever it is. Cos C plus cos D can be done. Is any perfect degree angle exists that cos is rational? What's the meaning of that? Perfect degree? Syntax error, but please comprehend it. Perfect degree angle exists imply of meaning it's a natural number. That cos is rational except 0. Cos is rational for 60 degree as well. Cos 60 degree is rational on it, half. Yeah, so there is there's a lot of such angles over there. 90 also definitely, but 60 already comes beforehand. Anyway, let us see. If I just come to this one, apply the formula for cos C plus cos D. What is that? 2 cos C plus D by 2 into cos C minus D by 2, isn't it? 2 cos C plus D by 2, which implies this plus this by 2, that becomes n degrees. And cos C minus D by 2 is cos 1 degree. Here this. So you notice that cos of n plus 1 degree plus cos n minus 1 degree is 2 cos n degree into cos 1 degree. Now, nobody knows for sure on it whether or not it is going to be rational. No, we'll have to prove or disprove some things. So how did you do that? I said since for any natural number n, we apply the formula for cos C plus cos D. Cos C plus cos D is what? What's the trouble, Arjo? Hold a moment. First of all, talk about this. What is cos C plus cos D? The formula for cos C plus cos D is 2 cos C plus D by 2 into cos C minus D by 2. So this one is C, that is D. So we get C plus D is 2n divided by 2, we get n degree. And what do you mean for rational x? How do you draw a graph for a rational x, by the way, Arjo? It's going to be, rational numbers are not continuous. They're breaking in between them. You need to draw the graph for real numbers. I mean, in any case, from graph, it will not be useful, by the way. Or if you're trying to think it that way, it will not be useful because the graph can only be approximate unless until you draw it by using computer or calculator. You cannot do that. That will not give us whether the number dealing with is actually rational or no. It will hardly of any help. It will be definitely coming out to be for many angles, but the question is, or at least Onik, what he asked was for some integer degrees actually. So obviously it will be a rational number for a lot of angles, but the point is whether those angles are going to be integer degrees. That is the question actually. That is, we cannot be sure of that. Okay. Binomial. What are you dealing with, Shubhech? Why should we use binomial in this case? What are you talking about? Binomial implies what? In this case, why should I apply a binomial? We have already in this case required result, which is we already have it over here. For example, if I now put n equal to 1 degree, we usually get in this case cos 2 degree plus cos 0 degree is cos of 2 cos square 1 degree. So which a binomial theorem is not applicable over here. You cannot apply the binomial theorem to get any useful result. In any case, how do you apply the binomial theorem over there? There's no power involved. That is the point. Binomial theorem is not going to applicable in this case in any direction, by the way. Okay. First of all, the powers are in this case not present, or at least we do not know what we're dealing with. And secondly, there's not two terms we have. We are not raising it into powers actually. It's a simple story. Just look at this identity. This is identity for this very useful result, by the way. You should keep that in mind. Very useful fact, both very useful result. We can see from here that if I now put n equal to 1 degree, we already have obtaining from there cos 2 degree plus cos 0 degree equal to twice cos square 1 degree, which already have this equation over there. That gives us effectively that cos 2 degree is rational, which is what we already have seen. So I could just write on this one as cos n degree plus 1 degree equal to twice cos n degree into cos 1 degree minus cos of n minus 1 degree. Okay, so we just basically climb the step one by one. First of all, that is last one is n minus 1 degrees. Okay, it should be n degree minus 1 degree actually. N degree minus 1 degree. Now start in this case from the first. We already have proven that, or we have actually by assuming that cos 1 is rational, we already have shown that cos 2 degree is also rational, because cos 2 degree is this one is rational number, so this right side is becoming rational. Now if I just put in this formula n equal to 2, for example, put n equal to 2, I get cos 3 degree over here. This side becomes 2 cos 2 degree, cos 1 degree minus cos 1 degree. Now if I just put n equal to 2. Now we already have seen that cos 2 degree, because my assumption cos 2 degree is rational, cos 1 degree is rational, therefore the right side becomes rational, which implies cos 3 degree is going to be rational upon putting n equal to 2. If I put n equal to 2 in this case, I get cos 3 degree to be rational. Once I have done that, I can just put n equal to 3, then I get cos 4 degrees to be rational, because before that everything will be rational actually. And so I can just go on. So it proves therefore that if I assume that cos 1 degree is rational, then cos of n degree is going to be rational for every natural number n. But it is wrong. Why? Because cos 30 is, say cos 30 degree, for example, is root 3 by 2, which is not rational, isn't it? That basically contradicts our assumption. And therefore, cos 1 degree must be irrational. It cannot be rational. Okay? Obviously, Subeksha, it is not easy to constructively prove something to be. You just do anything, Ankit. I am starting from the bottom. Okay. First of all, Subeksha, there is no easy way to constructively prove that something is irrational or rational. Proof of rationality or irrationality always goes by contradiction. Okay, so in this case, I'm doing the same thing. What's the trouble? I said, Ankit, we just climb step by step. No, you write the statement, Shubhankar. I have already written down the statement. Now you say that, okay, if you
sir, writing, sir.
What?
Writing, sir.
You can write down. I'm just saying it. I said that assuming that cos 1 degree to be rational, I get from this equation, or from here itself, cos 2 degree is rational. We know that cos 1 degree and cos 2 degree is rational. So I put n equal to, in this case, I get cos 3 degree equal to 2 cos 2 degree, cos 1 degree minus cos 1 degree, which is again going to be rational by my previous assumption.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, you have proved cos 2 degree is irrational by this cos n plus 1.
Rational.
Is rational only, sir. You have proved cos 2 degree is rational by cos n plus 1, means putting n equals to 1, then 1.
There it is.
Oh, achha.
I just assume that cos 1 degree is rational. In that case, I end up getting that cos 2 degree must also be rational from the second statement that is over here. Now we use this identity. Cos n plus 1 degree plus cos n minus 1 degree equal to twice cos n degree into cos 1 degree. So if it happens that cos 1 degree and cos 2 degree both are rational, then by putting n equal to 2 in this equation, I get cos 3 degree equal to 2 into cos 2 degree, cos 1 degree minus cos 1 degree, because the right side is rational. Therefore, left side must be rational. So I get therefore cos 3 degree to be rational as well. So once I know that cos 2 degree and cos 3 degree are rational, I can just put n equal to 3. So I get cos 4 degree equal to 2 cos 3, which is rational, cos 1, cos 2. All of them are rational. Therefore, cos 4 degree also becomes rational. Then I put n equal to 5. Again, cos 5 degree becomes rational. So I can just keep on doing that. N equal to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and so on. Finally, this can just, assuming that cos 1 degree is rational, this statement can be used to prove that it will be rational for all natural numbers. N, cos n degree, where n is a natural number, is going to be rational. But that is definitely wrong, because we come up till, for example, cos 30 degree. Cos 30 degree, according to this one, should have been rational, but cos 30 degree is irrational, which implies that we have got a contradiction, because we assumed that all cos n degrees are irrationals, but I'm getting in this case it to be irrational. Okay, but cos 30 degree. which implies that my initial assumption must be wrong, and that is why we have cos 1 degree to be irrational. Okay, and no matter, you just go on putting that. I said already, if you put n29, you get cos 30 degree to be rational, but it's wrong. The same method, you notice that from here it start, no, that will be trouble, by the way. Well, you'll have to just, I don't think that any other, well, you can still work with this one, by the way. You can just, if it's a natural number degree, then maybe it's possible, but it won't be happening for arbitrary number, okay? I cannot say, for example, I saw to prove that cos of, say, 15.5 degree is rational. No, that's easy. Prove that cos of 16.5 degree is rational, irrational. That cannot be done by them, okay? I mean, this will work only for some things. It's not going to be all of them, okay? There will be a problem. Go to 60 degree, it becomes rational, then the proof becomes wrong. Why it is wrong, by the way? Yes, Subecha, you can. Onik, why it becomes wrong?
So if we go on doing up till 60 degree, then it
counter n equal to 30 degree.
So no, sir, I'm further going up to 60 degree.
Do you understand the proof? We're just trying to get a contradiction. So why should go in any case cos 60 degree being rational doesn't prove anything or disprove anything, by the way.
Sir, then when we come across that cos 30 degrees irrational, then we have to stop there only though.
Quite obviously we got a contradiction, so why should we go further? My task was to prove that cos 1 was irrational. So we have got a contradiction by assuming to be rational. So why should we go further? And why should only the proof break? Because we are not disproving anything over there. We're not getting any contradiction, so the proof will simply not be conclusive. It will not be wrong, okay? It simply implies that you cannot conclude anything from there. You have to just get the idea. Say, proof by contradiction works in the fact of finding some contradiction. Obviously, it is, if you have to prove something true, then you must prove true it for all cases actually. But if you have to just show it for, false over there, then one contradiction is enough. Okay, that is what. So, Veksha, what are you saying? Another way? Yeah, you can just tell what is the other way. I'm all ears. Oh, it has gone down. Okay. If you consider De Moivre's theorem, which states that for every real number x and any integer n, that's fine enough. So, what is the trouble with that? So, what do you get from there? Yes, Arju, that's correct. There's nothing to do with that particular fact. So, Miksha, what do you conclude from there? I'm still waiting. My chat keeps to be suspending. Expanding the right side using the balance equal real part, then it's fine. Then what happens? Cos n x, that is okay. Then what? I'm going to put x equal to how much? 1 degree. Cos x for n will be on one side. You're writing too much, it seems. Okay, no problem. Keep on. So not finished. Okay, keep on doing. Still writing. You're writing too much, it seems. Are you on mobile phone, Subeksha? By the way, can you prove that the average? Yes, Subeksha, you can speak up. How long we going to type? Okay, that's big expression. It's given that sine 2x equal to, I mean, sine square x, I believe it is. You can write on square in this chat box in this fashion, by the way, sine in this fashion. That will be better to understand. Otherwise, it just seems like sine 2x. Just a moment. You said in this case, sine square x is known to be 1 minus cos 2x. So we can thereby express cos nx as a polynomial. That is not always necessary, by the way. What will happen, for example, if you come up a single power of sine x, by the way? How do you eliminate sine x? Yeah, that is obviously in the okay, Subramanian, in that case, she'll have to open something like typeit.org actually. So instead of doing that, yes, Veksha, first of all, there's one trouble. You know that sine square x is 1 minus cos square x, but the question is, what if we have a odd power of sine actually? What if we have odd power of sine? I've got something like cos square x into sine x, for example. So how do we eliminate sine x in terms of cos? They'll be coming up a root actually. In every term that you have, you will obtain, in this case, I mean, obviously you obtain some odd powers of sine x as well. So how are we going to eliminate that? That is the question. For even powers, it is fine enough. But for what about the odd powers actually? If I get something odd powers of sine x, then we are going to stuck because we cannot eliminate sine x, for example, in terms of cos x. That will be problem. Okay.
Sir,
Ankit.
I have got a new method.
New method. Okay. What is that?
Sir, we know that cos nx plus I sin nx
Yeah.
equals cos x plus I sin x to the n.
Okay.
So then we can eventually write that cos x plus I sin x equal to e to the ix.
E raised to I, that is what the De Moivre formula is.
So yes, if we write that e to the ix n.
E to the I and x. Yeah, fine. Then what?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then cos nx equal to I sin nx. Hey, sorry. Cos nx equal to e to the ixn minus I sin nx. Means I am trying that sin x to be in the right hand side.
Okay, you will end up getting cos. Why right side? You can just write on cos x if you wish. It will be nothing but e raised power. I mean, that will be. I don't know why I'm going to use that. It'll be like this, something. That's what you're saying? Or
So no. I'm not saying. I'm just bringing that I sin x part in the right hand side.
Then
Sir, I can use the Maclaurin series for I sin nx.
interesting. And how do you justify that series?
So it will give means sin x for sin x it is
No,
1 minus
you just
x.
you just expand it. It becomes infinite series. What else then? You just expand it either the
Sir,
exponential for this one and sine for that one as well. You end up getting infinite series.
Sir, can't this turn to a irrational? This part that
How
e
do
to
that?
the
How do that? Interestingly, by the way, the right side is containing infinite number terms. So adding of infinite rationals or irrational doesn't prove anything, by the way. For example, earlier we have seen that adding up infinitely many. I give an example of e raised power x or e, the number e actually. If you add up infinitely many rationals, the sum may be irrational, isn't it?
yes, sir.
So if you have to have infinite number of terms, then I cannot conclude anything because then the result is not known. Then the laws will break in effect because sum to infinity is not going to be the same results which hold for sum to finite terms actually.
Sir, Sir, but is E a pure irrational number or is it a transcendental number?
What is the meaning of pure irrational number?
Meaning that can it be exposed? Can it be expressed in a form of a surd?
E, no, E cannot be. It is a transcendental number.
Yes, sir. Then how is it a irrational number? Then transcendental number
All
cannot be.
transcendental numbers are irrational actually. It is difficult to prove not, usually it happens that all the transcendental numbers are irrational actually.
Okay.
Irrational numbers include the surds as well as the transcendental numbers, which are not algebraic. Okay. E and pi are examples. Proving E to be irrational is rather easy. We have already done that. Okay. If you're trying to use series methods, also that will not work in this case because they will be basically infinite series which do not have the same set of rules which govern the finite series by the pi will be difficult on it. It will be useful to first prove that pi square is irrational, but that one will deal with integrals. Forget about that right now. It is not always easy to prove that things are going to be rational always or irrational. I think I have already given some examples earlier, but what do you think by the irrational raised or irrational? Can it be a rational number? Prathish, we have already, I said so, no? I think I proved that E was irrational. Have I done that? Did I prove that E was irrational? Huh?
No, sir.
No? I
No.
thought I have done that.
So you told that sum of infinite rationals can be irrational. You gave an example, but you didn't prove it.
Okay, no problem. Proof, I'll just, should do that. We'll ask to find out. So did you find out, Tanishka? Did you find out that how is E irrational? Hey, so Victor didn't know this. The number E is irrational actually. Oh, interesting. Okay, it's not a very difficult thing. I'll just prove it in a moment, by the way. Before that, what do you think? If I have an irrational number raised to an irrational power, can the result be rational?
Yes, sir. So in
Yes.
case of e to the power log,
What?
e to the power log of and e to the power natural log of something, then
How do you know that is irrational, by the way?
sir,
That will give the same result. That e to the power log of something will give the same result that will be in the log function.
I know that, but the point is, how do you know that the exponent is irrational?
sir, ln of something will be irrational.
Is it?
Can't prove it rational, so
What? ln of E is what? 1.
so not that, except that, except e.
ln of E square?
Sir,
That will be.
multiples of or submultiples of e.
And so you're putting too much conditions then, by the way. In that case, obviously, we cannot.
Yes, sir.
So then we can't use any number. That's the problem.
Sir, ln
We
10
only
is it, like Pratu said. Then we can say
ln
that e
10
to
is
the power
irrational.
10 is
Definitely, ln 10 is irrational. But
So
that, say, if I am able to show that e raised power ln, okay, I'll just give an example. Yeah, that is fine. That is okay. That's okay. Rational to irrational to power irrational, that is can be rational. That is fine enough. Okay, that is okay. Good enough. You have got an example. Anyway, Anushka already said. One day I heard someone saying that the reason is same as pi. The value is approximate. Who said that? No, Subeksha, that is not correct. Actually, how many of you think that pi is rational, by the way? Any of you think that pi is a rational number? Because we have been using pi as 22 by 7. 22 by 7 is rational. So shouldn't pi be rational as well? What do you think? Am I still audible? Approximate value. Subeksha thinks yes. So pi has to be rational, isn't it?
So can you repeat once?
Yeah, I was saying, how many of you do think that because pi is 22 by 7, it has to be a rational number? You have been using pi as 22/7. Okay.
So isn't pi a non-terminating decimal?
What did you say? Non-terminating. How do you know that's non-terminating, by the way? How many divs have you figured out?
Sir, pi is not equal to 22/7. That's why it is irrational. But 22/7 is
Pi
rational.
22/7?
Sir, that was.
Ah.
It is approximately.
Approximate value. Okay, Shubham says rational.
Sir, and
So
that
that's the
to make calculation easy.
Irrational is
hold on. Pi is technically an irrational number. You should just know this. Only thing is difficult to prove pi for the moment, but it is an irrational number. It is known. Yeah, I'm gonna say if you just find a decimal form of pi, 3.14 is only approximate. 22/7 is also an approximate. We can in fact have better representation in rational numbers actually, but they are only approximate forms. We have been using those numbers, but they're only approximate with two significant digits or two decimal places. But if you just try to find out more suitable or significant or more better approximation over there, in that case, it will not be same as 3.14. In fact, there is a website pi.org, I believe, which contains or which gives you millions of places, by the way. At least mathematics can also give us as many digits as we want. Turns out that the decimal representation of pi does not repeat. It does not terminate. So it's non-terminating, non-repeating, and that always is irrational actually. Non-terminating alone might be rational, like 1/3. It is non-terminating, but it's repeating. If we have non-terminating and non-repeating decimal expansion, those are irrational. Turns out pi satisfies that condition, or at least nobody has so far been able to figure out the terminating part over there. So we expect, or in this case, it has in fact been proven that pi is technically an irrational number. Yeah, the value is complex, definitely. It appears in so many places. Turns out, however, that it has been proven already that pi is irrational. Only thing, the proof is not as simple over there. But the proof for the number E can be done much more easily actually, because of the following thing. As usual, if I want to prove that E is okay, before that, by the way, all of you are familiar with the summation formula for geometric progression, or if you know that geometric progression. Yes. Okay. In that case, we can prove that the number E is irrational, again by contradiction. Okay, fine. Good enough. Let us assume, let's do it quickly, by the way, it's not very difficult. Let us say that E becomes a rational. So E is a rational number. I hope you know that I already actually wrote down the E raised power pi, pi raised power E, they are both irrationals. Again, proof is not easy, but they are known to be irrational actually. Anyway, let us suppose that E is rational, so that we can assume, therefore, that m by n is same thing as E for some integers m and n, and all those things are holding. M and n are two integers, n is not 0, and we have just cashed out any common factors which are present in m and n. Okay, and this is same thing as 1 by 0 factorial plus 1 by 1 factorial plus 1 by 2 factorial dot 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 and so on. Okay, I hope that I talked about this series, by the way. E can be written down as an infinite series, which is nothing but a summation of all the natural numbers factorials in the denominator, ratio of reciprocal of all the factorials of natural numbers. That is what E is actually. Now, you notice that no matter what integer n is, no matter what this n is, no matter how big or how small it is, this is a natural number integer. It must appear, therefore, somewhere down the line actually. Down the line, we will get 1 by n factorial because it contains infinite series over there. So down the line, I will get somewhere 1 by n factorial, isn't it? So let's say that somewhere down the line I'm going to have 1 by n factorial, then 1 by n plus 1 factorial, and continues dot dot till infinity. Fine, that is happening because the series is infinite. So no matter what n I take over here, obviously I can find that n factorial in the denominator somewhere in the series over there. Fine. So now what I do is I multiply throughout by n factorial. Multiply throughout by n factorial. If I do that, this side will turn out to be n minus 1 factorial multiplied with m. I hope you are familiar with the property of the factorial, that n factorial is same thing as n into n minus 1 factorial. That is a reduction that we have. So that will give us this result. On this side, this will become n factorial by 0 factorial, then n factorial by 1 factorial, n factorial by 2 factorial, and so on till I reach 1 by n minus 1 factorial, which will be giving us n factorial by n minus 1 factorial. Then we should get 1 for this term, and then the denominator becomes more. How did you do this line? Which one? The first one? This one? Yeah, I am saying in this case that I'm going to multiply throughout by. First of all, I said that no matter what this n is, down the line somewhere I'm going to get n factorial denominator. That much is quite sure about. So what I do is now multiply with n factorial on both the sides. On this side, I get n factorial multiplied with m by n. N factorial multiplied with m by n can written down as n into n minus 1 factorial multiplied by m by n, because n factorial is same thing as n into n minus 1 factorial. This n gets cancelled out, so I get this. Okay. On the right side, I'm just multiplying every term as n factorial. So far, I've just done nothing. This will become multiplied with n factorial, n factorial, n factorial, and so on. This term will become 1 because the denominator contains n factorial. Then subsequently, we get n factorial by n plus 1 factorial. Then so on. This was what happened. Okay. Now, notice in this case that if I consider n factorial is nothing but the product of first n natural numbers. That's what it is. By definition, 0 factorial is 1. By definition, 0 factorial is 1 actually. So this becomes just n factorial, an integer. This becomes n factorial by 1 factorial, which is again an integer. N factorial by 2 factorial, well, because n factorial contains a product from 1 to n, it will definitely contain the product 1 into 2. So it will be cancelling out, and this becomes an integer as well. It continues. In fact, as long as the denominator is less compared to n factorial, the result will be an integer, because all these these products will be contained in n factorial. So effectively, what we end up getting is that this particular part over here till this one, that is nothing but an integer. That's what I get so far, integer. Quite obviously, the left part is also an integer. So left part is also an integer. Okay, so I've got an integer equal to integer plus something which is over here. That's something if I consider this part over here. This portion, if I consider this part, whichever is coming later to that one, that term is coming out to be something like n factorial by n plus 1 factorial. N plus 1 factorial is n plus 1 multiplied with n factorial. So n factorial cancels the numerator. So what is left is nothing but 1 by n plus 1 in that particular term. No, right now it is not necessary, by the way. We can have actually sum of many non-integers turning out to be integer. That is a possibility, okay? We can have that. So we have to just make sure that, okay, the sum is technically not an integer. That is what I must prove over there, fine? Next term is going to be what? Next term is giving us n factorial divided by n plus 2 factorial. Now n plus 2 factorial is n plus 2 into n plus 1 into n factorial. So again, n factorial cancels up with the numerator, and I'm left with 1 by n plus 1 into n plus 2, or n plus 2 into n plus 1. This is what I get the denominator. Is visible, I hope. The next one will be 1 by n plus 3, n plus 2, n plus 1. The next one becomes 1 by n plus 3 into n plus 2 into n plus 1, and so on. That's happened. This is again an infinite sum which is going to continue. So I'm going to get in this case an integer equal to integer plus something. This something you already have. If I can show that this something is not an integer, then we got a contradiction, because integer addition is closed under addition. Integers, a subset of integers is closed under the operation of addition. That implies that I add two integers, I must get integer. Or subtract two integers, I must get integers. In this case, therefore, if I can show that this part is not an integer, then we are done, because I should get an integer plus something not an integer. I'm going to get integer, which is not correct actually. So therefore, it depends whether or not we can prove that this is not an integer. To that end, what I do is, now if you consider this particular sum, the sum in this case 1 by n plus 1 plus 1 by n plus 2 into n plus 1, and so on, n plus 3, n plus 2 into n plus 1, and so on, that particular sum. Hazy screen, that's bad. Okay, Shrestha, you have to wait for a couple of minutes. It will be improving, I hope. Effectively, I am just considering still too hazy, or what? Not for Airtel. Okay. It depends on location as well. By the way. Yeah, it may be her problem as well. Clear enough? Shrestha, is it okay now? Fine, just log out and come back in, okay? Okay, share up this part over there. I just need to consider this particular sum, and I have to somehow prove that this is not an integer actually. Okay, to that end, you two did that. Okay, so has it improved? Last sentence. Okay, last sentence I said, Shubhankar, that I need to show that this particular sum is no longer an integer. If I could prove that this series, this sum which is infinite sum, okay, that's fine enough. If I can prove that this particular sum is not an integer, then I'll be having a contradiction, because I already shown that an integer is an integer plus this particular sum. So everything now hinges on this fact that we are able to show that this particular sum is not integer. Okay, and there's one very useful thing to compare with. What we could do, for example, is notice this. We have in this case that n plus 2 into n plus 1. N plus 2 into n plus 1 is quite obviously more than n plus 1 whole square, isn't it? I notice that since n plus 2 into n plus 1 is greater than n plus 1 square, because if I replace it, n plus 1 becomes less, isn't it? So n plus 2 into n plus 1 is more than n plus 1 square. Therefore, the reciprocal will be having the opposite sign. Therefore, I get 1 by n plus 2 into n plus 1 must be less than 1 by n plus 1 square. Okay. In a similar fashion, if I consider similarly n plus 3 into n plus 2 into n plus 1 is more than n plus 1 whole cube, which implies therefore that 1 by n plus 3 into n plus 2 into n plus 1 must be less than 1 by n plus 1 whole cube. Okay. So I keep on doing this. I see that 1 by next term n plus 4, n plus 2, n plus 3 will be less than 1 by n plus 1 raised to 4, and so on. Which implies therefore that this particular sum that we have got over here, this one, it is therefore turning out to be, this sum is therefore, the sum is therefore less than 1 by n plus 1 plus 1 by n plus 1 square plus 1 by n plus 1 whole cube and so on. It's infinite sum actually. So I have shown that this particular sum written down is technically less than this sum. Okay, but this sum is what? This sum is nothing but a sum for GP. This infinite GP. The first term is 1 by n plus 1. The common ratio is also 1 by n plus 1. So this sum turns out to be how much? This sum turns out to be the first term 1 by n plus 1 into 1 by 1 minus r, which we have. So 1 minus 1 by n plus 1. That gives us upon cancellation, we have n plus 1 is gone. I get n plus 1 minus 1 is n. So I get 1 by n, which is less than 1, which is therefore a rational number. I mean a fractional number effectively. So there, and obviously it was something which was positive, which implies that we have shown that if I assume that E is a rational number, then we are getting a rational number equal to the sum of a rational and a fractional number, which is not going to happen. In fact, it's
Sir, can you read what is written
over there.
Yes, sir.
I wrote down the sum is less than 1 by n plus 1, 1 by n plus 1 square, 1 by n plus 1 cube, and so on.
Okay, sir.
And then this becomes 1 by n plus 1. The GP formula turns out to 1
So
by
can
n,
you-
1 by n, okay?
Sir, can you explain the last part? I lost the connection.
What? What do you say?
Can you explain the last part? Sir,
You
can
know
you
the
explain the last
formula
part?
sum
I
of
lost the
GP.
connection. Yes, sir.
Apply that formula. The first term is 1 by n plus 1. The common ratio is also 1 by n plus 1.
Yes, sir.
Apply the formula for the infinite GP. It is the first term divided by 1
sir.
minus r. Okay, that turns out this. Onic obviously fraction is rational, but I'm getting an integer equal to integer plus a fractional number, a proper fraction actually. So can it happen? Anushka, which step are talking about? Well, irrational plus irrationality it is in this case will be again an irrational number. Is this proof okay? By the way, we have basically shown that if I assume that E is a rational number, in that case, GP formula for infinite GP, if you have something like A plus AR square, and so on, provided R is less than 1 in absolute value, then this sum is nothing but A by 1 minus R. That's what sum is. Okay. No, but it is not necessary that irrational has to be an irrational, but it is definitely true for E and pi actually. They're not some arbitrary number, okay? A specific number. I'm not saying that an irrational plus irrational has to be proof. Right now, difficult. We haven't even proved that pi is rational, by the way. We haven't done it yet, isn't it? You do not expect that you can prove everything that we have. First of all, you need to show that pi is irrational, which is difficult by itself. Let pi be irrational, then there's no trouble. Then let be E and pi be irrational over there. What else? You can obviously use the contradiction part, by the way. What is trouble over there? Shubhankar, what are you saying?
Sir, sir, up to which term we have to take the n means in the formula that it is given is we know that formula
Infinite,
is
infinite series till infinity.
infinite search.
Till infinity.
Okay, sir.
Pratish, it can be proven that pi is irrational actually. And then you can show by contradiction that E plus pi is also irrational. Pi can be proven to be irrational, okay. Well, this is a very standard proof, Suveksha. No other proof of irrationality of the number E is going to be easier. E plus pi is irrational, Nilaprata. The two irrationality do not cancel out to give us rational. Okay. The proof is not easy. I think dealing with pi, it is not an easy to do. E still is a bit better, but not e plus pi or pi itself. That's not good. It doesn't allow itself to be proven so easily. You might have to wait for a couple of years before you can prove that. Or maybe in class a bit more entail, then you can just do that over there. Okay, anyway, for the moment it is okay. I said that E is not very difficult to show, but you should remember it's not always easy to prove that a certain number is rational or irrational. It's not there. It's not going to happen that you can take arbitrary number and you just prove okay, it's not irrational either, or not rational. That is not always going to happen. Okay. People are working, so they keep on trying to do, and whichever the result they get, that is standardized or that is known to everybody. But otherwise, people are still trying to prove many numbers. In fact, people are still trying to find the, proof for many other irrational number. In fact, in many cases, the number might be known to be irrational, but we cannot have that number in a closed form. Actually, there may not be a very simple relation or simple symbol for a particular number. Okay, it might happen. The numbers, for example, if you consider 1 by 1 cube plus 1 by 2 cube plus 1 by 3 cube plus 1 by 4 cube and so on, the cube of the natural numbers is reciprocal. It turns out that the required number is an irrational number, but there is no symbol for that. It is simply called the Apérier's constant. It cannot be expressed in terms of any other numbers actually. It's already some new irrational number that we have. Okay. The irrationality for that one is known, but the symbol or the there are many such numbers. I'm not saying that okay, it's only for E or pi. There are infinitely many such numbers for which this property will hold. That they will be transcendental, they will be irrational, but the proof is going to be exceptionally difficult actually. Okay. So for the moment, let us forget about that. Come back over here to the other identities, couple of them that we need. Achha, what I was actually asking is, can you find out the nobody's saying that they're going to know that they're irrational without proving it by that. I'm just saying that pi is known to be irrational. I'm just saying that proving something that is rational is not going to be irrational, rather. It's not going to be easy. So they take it to be irrational. It seems like it's a hunch effectively. It is not obviously true unless until people have proven it that way. It's not that okay, they know the number is irrational without proving it. It is not that way actually. For some numbers it can be proven, but some other numbers which cannot be proven. First, we talk about the solvable question in physics. Then we shall talk about the unsolvable questions. We just require a database of. There's some very simple things which are not solvable. In what sense, by the way? Not solvable in sense of analytical solutions. We already know, for example, if I have two objects given, we can find, we know the force between them. We can definitely solve for their motion analytically, but it's very difficult to do it for three objects actually. For example, the system of Earth, Moon, and the Sun. That turns out to be a very difficult problem to solve analytically. It cannot be done in a formula. It can be numerically done. It can be simulated in a computer, but it cannot be done in a formula over there. Okay. There are many other many simple things that we have, by the way, which turn out to be exceptionally difficult. Say there's always an example of something called double pendulum, which is a very chaotic system actually. Double pendulum implies you just take up one rod like this, and you hinge it another at the bottom. So they are basically free to move about that hinge, suspend from the top, and just displace it and leave it. So the motion is quite chaotic actually. It's something called chaos. You know that there's also a theory for the chaos. You know this? There's something called a chaos theory, by the way. Chaos theory. Have you heard of it anytime? People are trying to find out a theory for a chaos as well around us, about us actually. There's a very famous saying, which is also called as a butterfly effect actually. Yeah. It's technically chaos theory. The butterfly effect is simply there. Yes, technically it is for maths, by the way, but yes, it is going to be it's actually part of physics, but obviously it is more of maths, by the way. What is about? I said finding order in disorder. Well, it is not technically very unpredictable. There is still an order in a certain sense. Okay, it's not exactly deterministic, but it's more like a probabilistic approach. Yeah, you can. I said there's a butterfly effect. Says that if you just there's a butterfly, a tiny object flapping its wings in, for example, Japan, and there's a tornado in Mexico, which basically implies if you change the initial conditions only slightly, the final outcome may be vastly different actually. Okay, yes, tracing a path of pendulum, Bob, but technically if it is double pendulum, that is more chaotic actually. Anyway, let's talk about another thing which I was going to ask. I was asking, can you find the average of these numbers, by the way? Twice of sine 2 degree, 2 sine 4 degree, 2 sine 8 degree, and so on, till 2 sine, sorry, not 2 by the way, it's going to be 4 in fact. The same, 8. And I have n into sine n degree actually. We need to prove that the average value of 2 sine 2 degree, 4 sine 4 degree, in general 6 sine 6 degree till 180 into sine 180 degree. Quite obviously, last term is simply 0, by the way. But you need to prove in this case that the average of these numbers is simply cot of 1 degree. Okay, that is a proof that you have to do, but don't do it later. Now, you just do it later on, by the way. For the moment, just take up some identities that we have. Question number 5. Question number 5. My voice got cut. I have written down 2 sine 2 degree, comma 4 sine 4 degree, comma 8 sine 8 degree. Okay. Till 180 into sine 180 degrees actually.
Sir, is it a homework?
Yes. You have to show this is like equal to cot of 1 degree. Fine. Prove that this is equal to cot of 1 degree. Is okay, Anushka? Yes, the assignment we should rather wait, at least give some other people some time to do it. Anushka, you can just simply WhatsApp me your doubt. Okay, I'll just clear it up personally. Okay. Cot of 1 degree, cot 1 degree. It is not the sum, it is the average, not the sum. Cot of 1 degree implies, how many numbers are there, by the way? There are 90 numbers actually. So if I just, oh, sorry, I thought somebody, oh, Arunabha, yes, that's fine. No problem, you just send me in my WhatsApp, okay? I just, okay, fine. So that will be also added to that particular homework part, by the way. Now, what we are going to actually deal with some identities that we have for triangles, okay? I will say at least, or triangles, or we can just consider that whenever the sum of 3 angles A, B, and C is 180 degrees, there's some very simple results that we should know, and we will require to prove them actually. Let's take up those. Specifically, I'll just take up a short list and we shall just prove a couple of them from there. The list that we're going to have is not very large, but not very lengthy, but finding the average implies you find the sum of those numbers and divide by the number of terms, isn't it? So you have to divide by 90 the sum of all those numbers. That will be the required average. Okay. Now, what we have to do for the conditional identities inside a triangle is the following. Just wait. Yeah. We prove only a couple of them, not all. But these are the following that we have to do that. So if a plus b plus c is pi, which implies we're talking about the angles in a triangle, they need not be, but obviously by using these numbers a, b, and c, we can always form a triangle over here. We show the following. First, first thing, if I have a triangle, angles are a, b, and c. Oh, sorry, just wait. Yeah, that's just one mistake, by the way. In the question that we have given, I forgot to write down 6 sine 6 degrees as well. It's basically even. So we have 2 sine 2 degrees, 4 sine 4 degree, 6 sine 6 degree, 8 sine 8 degree, 10 sine 10 degree, 12, and so on. Okay. So just rectify that mistake actually. I actually missed that 6 sine 6 degree. Okay. So actually the sum has to be, let me see, it has to be, whether I can copy paste it. Let me see. Well, possibly. We do have copy pasted the entire thing. Average of numbers 2 sine 2 degree, 4 sine 4 degree, 6 sine 6 degree till 180 sine 1 degree is cot 1 degree. Okay. That's just question. Rectify that mistake we have done earlier. Okay. Obviously, this list is a short one. This does not give us all of them, but whatever is important, this is going to contain those formulas. The first case, it is sine A plus sine B plus sine C. Yeah, that will be actually a GP in that case. The third one we already have done. But just for sake of completeness, we'll write it down as well. Third one, which you have already written down earlier or proven in fact earlier. Fourth one contains sine of 2a plus sine of 2b we have the fourth one. The fifth one is in terms of cos 2a equal to minus 1 minus 4 cos a cos b cos c. I've added only 2 more, but there's no space left over there. Let's talk about these first. So rub the upper part by the way. I'll just add 2 more to this list.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All of them rhyme. Okay, the first one says if first of all, if a plus b plus c is pi, then you have to prove the first statement reads sine a plus sine b plus sine c equal to 4 cos A by 2, cos B by 2, cos C by 2. Okay, fine. The last two, the fourth one says sine 2A plus sine 2B plus sine 2C equal to 4 sin A sin B sin C. And the fifth one is saying cos 2A plus cos 2B plus cos 2C equal to -1 minus 4 cos A cos B cos C. Okay, or better I can just take up a snapshot and maybe it was contained those functions. Just wait. Yes, hold on. I'll just take up a snapshot and send it over there in the group. Okay, you can just okay. I was filling the board and haziness was filling up. Well, Subeksha, there is no count for formulas by the way. You can just fill. You can just take any number of them by the way. Every question is already a formula by itself. But at least the important ones that we are doing, at least these we should keep in mind. I have sent the rest in the WhatsApp group by the way. If you can see that, I have only 2 gone remaining. So I just sent the entire thing in the group. I think you can just see it from there. Technically, they are formulas, but they are questions as well. We have to just prove them. Which book? It can be found in any book by the Anushka, but are there proofs in score? Definitely, Pratyush. Their proofs is rather simple. These proofs are only dealing with those, say a product of some formula. So they are technically yes in our syllabus, okay? The book, by the way, which I'm using, Anushka, if you want. Yes, Anik, we have to prove these results now. We shall be proving it. Don't worry. I have a book by there's a book called Higher Trigonometry rather, by Das and Mukherjee actually. B.C. Das and B.N. Mukherjee. That is the book I'm using right now. Okay, it's a thin book, old one, but it's a nice one. Right? It contains a bit of more than things. Yeah, they should be doable. That's pretty easy actually, or at least they're standard ones. So we need to at least know the proofs over there. 1 to 4 done, then do the other one, Nilaprata. What else? I just refill the pen and take them one by one. In effect, the first one just required you to apply the formula for that one is coming lengthy. It should not be too lengthy, by the way. In fact, it's not very lengthy. You just apply the same thing again and again. No problem.
So is there any other 2 formulas? More?
I sent in the WhatsApp. Can you check it? So by the way, what about your that ICSE exams? They're still supposed to hold, isn't it? So far.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think in that case, next week and next week.
Declined the ICSE's plea.
What? They declare it.
Maharashtra is not allowed ICSE.
Maharashtra state government has not allowed ICSE to take the exam.
Yes, sir.
And in West Bengal, they're taking the exam.
West Bengal lockdown.
No,
Sir,
the exam
it's
will not.
tomorrow.
That's according to Supreme Court's law.
Okay, so tomorrow is the final hearing. Okay.
Yes, sir. Supreme Court has told ICSE to follow the footstep of CBSE.
Acha. And CBSE is not yet decided, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so fine. Let us wait a couple of days. Most possibly tomorrow it will be decided. In that case, we shall see what happens with them. Okay. Not couple of days. Let us see, Sureksha, what happens. Depending on what the result is, I will just say whether you'll have a classes or not. If your exam is there, then obviously I'll just say we shall have a bit of holidays for a couple of weeks, or otherwise we will have to have the classes over there. Okay, these results. The fifth one, okay, you have done all of them. Who said that?
So these were in the sums that you gave.
They are
Today.
there?
Yes, sir, in the last page.
Okay, fine. That is done.
So mostly one or two are not there.
No problem. In that case, should I leave it to, or at least a couple of questions we can take them, and then we can, the rest of them we can just take it up. Okay. The Supreme Court did not tell. I don't know what is the point in having the exams. Why they can simply scrap the exam. At least in Delhi, I think the entire class and exam has been scrapped over there, isn't it? Anyway, okay. So for people who haven't yet done it, just a couple of sums I can take any two of them. Say for example, this one and this one, which seems to be lengthy. I can just take them up over there. The rest you will have to try. Okay. First of all, if I look at the first one, in all of them, the only thing that we have to apply is the, say addition to the product formulas. Yes. Acha, what did you happen to, say check the syllabus of that? How many? Depending on whether you have not filled or not filled that exam or quiz, rather quiz and essay competition, which are supposed to be conducted by ISRO. Have you looked at the site again? They already have given the syllabus actually. Yes. If you are trying, I do not know whether the timetable is given or no, but the syllabus is already there. No problem. If you're not giving, it doesn't make much difference, but it should be useful. At least we can just try the quiz part by that. This will be interesting about. What is it about? It is about knowing about the space around us, apart from the Earth as well. Selection. You should just go to the website of ISRO. Sometimes a very nice website. They have just given a lot of things over there. Try to just.
So it is online.
Yes,
Or-
it is online. Everything is online. You have not to go there over there. Yeah, date is not declared right now. Name of the website. So, Becha. I think I just posted the physics group, isn't it? It is ISRO, ISRO. Just go to ICC 2020 ISRO. Just type in Google and you can find it entirely. Yeah, the website for ISRO is isro.gov.in, but you just look for ICC 2020. There is a quiz, exactly. Anik has posted the link. He has posted the logout link, by the way. Anyway, doesn't matter. The syllabus already out. And the topics are interesting, by the way. If you have any interest over there, okay, fine. The interesting. If you the quiz will be interesting, definitely. You don't have to go anywhere. You just sit in your home and just attend the quiz. That is what we have. June 20th extended. Interesting. You might. It is free of cost. If you just want to register, you can do that. But anyway, so for this one, for example, the LHS, if I consider, I can apply the formula for sine A plus sine B to end up getting, in this case, 2 into sine A plus B by 2 into cos of A minus B by 2 and plus sine C. That is what we have got in this case. Now we know that in this case because they have already somebody said, Surecha, that the registration has been extended actually. Now because in this case A plus B plus C is pi, this actually means that A plus B is pi minus C. Therefore, A plus B by 2 is going to be pi by 2 minus C by 2. So I end up getting 2 into sine pi by 2 minus C by 2. So because every one or all these angles are half angles, let us break that sine C as well into the half angles so that we can get something like twice sine C by 2 into cos of C by 2, applying the half angle formulas. Now, because sine of 90 degree minus theta is cos theta, this gives us therefore twice of cos C by 2 into cos A minus B by 2. And this side we get twice sine C by 2 into cos of C by 2. Both of them we do have 2 cos C by 2, so that I can just pull out common. So I just pull out common 2 cos C by 2. Let's pull it out common. What remains is cos A minus B by 2, and on this side we end up getting sine C by 2. So I again use the same result and write down C. Sine C by 2, write down as pi minus A plus B upon 2. That way. Okay, I skip one step over there. I just write down sine C by 2. C I have replaced pi minus A plus B actually. So we now use again that fact that sine 90 minus theta is cos theta. So that this becomes in this case 2 times cos C by 2 into cos A minus B by 2. And sine 90 minus theta is cos theta. So I get plus cos A plus B by 2. And finally, we once again apply the formula for cos C plus cos B, which is twice cos C plus D by 2 into cos C minus D by 2. So we have, in this case, 2 times cos of C plus D by 2. So we get this plus this. That already becomes A. So I get A by 2. And cos C minus D by 2 will become this minus this. So we get cos of minus B, but it's the same thing as cos B upon 2. I get cos of B by 2. And as a result of which, you finally end up getting twice cos. I just rearrange to get 4 times cos A by 2, cos B by 2 into cos C by 2. Okay. So that is what we have in this case. The first part is rather easy, not very bad over there. If I look at the fifth one is what we said earlier, the one which wrote down at the bottom. It was, yes, cos 2a plus cos 2b plus cos 2c. Yeah, let's do the fifth part over there. Cos of 2b plus cos 2c, cos 2a 2b plus cos 2c is minus 4 cos a cos b cos c minus 1. So you're going to prove that part. This result will be again useful. If I consider the fifth one, Once again, apply the formula for that sum to product. We get cos of some c plus cos d. It comes 2 cos c plus d by 2, but that is nothing but a plus b into cos of c minus d by 2, which is once again a minus b plus cos of 2c. Now, in this case, we know that a plus b is pi minus c. So this becomes 2 times cos of pi minus c to cos a minus b, and cos 2c I write down in terms of 2 cos square c minus 1. Now in this case, cos of pi minus theta is how much better? Cos pi minus theta is minus cos theta
Minus sin theta.
minus sin theta. Cos pi minus theta is what?
Sir, sin
It's
theta.
minus cos
Sin
theta, not sin theta. It's minus cos theta.
Minus cos theta.
Yes, minus cos theta. Yeah, so it becomes minus of 2 cos c into cos a minus b plus 2 cos square c minus 1. So again, you can just pull out in this case 2 cos c common. What remains over there is cos of c. Or I can just pull out minus 2 cos c common by the way. So I get in this case cos a minus b minus cos c minus 1. But again, c is nothing but pi minus a plus b. So once again, that will become plus of comes cos a minus b, and this becomes plus cos of a plus. And final result, we apply once again the formula for cos c plus cos d, and that will be giving us, break it up, I have simply 2 cos a cos b, and so we end up getting finally minus 4 cos a cos b cos c minus 1. That's what we have. It was not very lengthy, by the way, Nilabrata. I thought it was rather straightforward. It's fine. Okay. I hope this can be proven up. Not very difficult. Right. Exactly the properties of triangles. Let us do it the next time over there. We have just proven these results. Once you apply those results to numerical examples, which then becomes relatively easy. Somebody saying something? No. Okay. What to do then? Hold a moment. Let me see if I can get something. Triangle. Just a moment. Let me see what it was. I couldn't find it. So what if we have been given, for example, something like a cos theta plus b sine theta, and we have to find out the maximum value for that expression? What do you think will be that? If I consider a cos theta plus b sine theta, a and they are small actually. What will be the maximum value for that? If I
The maximum value will be a square plus b square root under root, and minimum value will be minus of root over a square plus b square.
and how do you prove it? Okay, fine. That's not. Yeah, that's fine. The required result is root over of a square plus b square. It's basically bounded by root a square plus b square from above and minus of root a square plus b square from below, isn't it? Okay, that is not very bad. It is okay. I was looking, however, at something else which I am not able to find. So give me a moment. Where's it gone? Meters of less. It is lost, it seems. Okay, then appears to forget about that. Maybe I'll ask that later on sometimes. Well, in that case, I believe we can simply forget about that question because I'm not getting it. It is somewhere in the book and I'm not able to find it out. Okay, forget that. Before we move ahead, by the way, are you familiar with something called a sine rule in a triangle? So what is the question? Oh, Shubhankar. The question was to find a maximum minimum value for this expression. Theta is variable, but a and b are fixed. I hope we could do that. The required answer is root a square plus b square. Actually, it turns out this is bounded in between root over of a square plus b square and minus root a square plus b square. Mighty useful result. It looks quite simple, very useful actually. Substituting a
So what
equal
is the maximum value?
what
What is the maximum value of?
this expression you can't see
Achha.
a cos theta plus b sine theta. The maximum value is root a square plus b square. Substituting a equal to r sine x and b equal to r cos y. Where is cos y in this case, Arjun? There's no cos y. There's the same angle theta in both cases. And what is the guarantee by the way that a and b do have that relation in this case? What is the guarantee? If you written down a as r cos theta, then is it mandatory that b has to be written down as r into sine theta, or what the other way around? There is no relation whatsoever between a and b, so you are not free to say that. That is technically wrong, actually. You cannot be assuming that okay, they can always be written down that way, actually. The better thing to prove in this case, not that way, but what you could do in order to prove it.
So we could first consider a cos theta plus b sin theta equals to k, and then take b sin theta to the other side and square both the sides.
That is a
And then-
possibility, definitely. That is a possibility, but Apart from there, you can also do it this way. You can consider this to be, I can just multiply and divide by root a square plus b square. I'm multiplying and dividing by root a square plus b square. In this fashion. Okay, now we notice in this case that yeah, it is similar to that, but you notice that this number is definitely less than 1. This is also less than 1, and in fact, if I square them and add them up, if I square this and this one, add them up, I actually get 1 actually. Okay, that motivates therefore for us. It just motivates us to think of these numbers as some sine and cosines over there. In fact, I think of a right triangle, for instance. Think of a right triangle whose base is equal to A and the altitude is B. Think of this right triangle where the base is A and altitude is B. Fine. In that case, the hypotenuse squared automatically becomes root over of A square plus B square, isn't it? In that case, notice that this one is simply cos of this angle. Let's call it as alpha or phi. Or alpha is better because it is phi itself. So cos A by root A square plus B square is cos phi, and B by root A square plus B square is sin phi, where the angle phi is determined by the fact that tan phi is B by A. Okay. Then this expression will now transform to root A square plus B square multiplied by, this one already has become cos of phi. Therefore, I get cos theta cos phi plus sin theta sin phi, which implies I could write down this one as cos of theta minus phi. That is the entire expression turning out to be, where tan phi determined by this triangle B by A. We notice that because this cosine of anything cannot be more than 1, therefore this is going to be always less than equal to root A square plus B square. That becomes therefore the maximum value of this expression, which is same as that one, and the equal to sign holds, or at maximum value is being attained when theta is becoming phi, because then this becomes 0. This one becomes 0, theta minus phi, and cos 0 is 1 actually. So then I get this entire thing to be 1, and therefore I get this expression to be root A square plus B square. So the maximum value that he attained when the angle theta is chosen to be phi. Theta is a variable angle. I can just take different angles, I get different values. I need to get the maximum, then I must choose the value of theta to be phi, which is determined by this triangle. Okay. For example, if A is 1, B is 2, then I have to choose tan phi as half. Okay. And that will give us the required maximum value. Why can't we take well, because you can always choose A as R sin X, by the way. You notice there are two unknowns. R is there, X is there. They're both undetermined. And the point is, what is the guarantee that you are actually going to have B as R cos alpha for the same number, actually, for same X? How are you going to share about that? Because there's no relation been given between A and B. If it is saying that, okay, A square plus B square is R square or constant, then you can do that. But in this case, A and B are simply two independent numbers, any independent numbers.
You can say that A by B equals to tan theta, tan alpha, because tan ranges from 0 to infinity.
That you could do.
So then we can say that A by B is equal to sin alpha by cos.
A by B is that is the starting point. Then you could say that in that case there is a relationship. Yes, A equal to R sin theta and B equal to R cos theta.
Yes, sir.
I can always choose. Yes, we could do that. Basically, thinking of A and B as the coordinates over there. Yeah, we could do that. Then it is fine. Okay. Yes, Anushka, it will be true for the minimum value as well, because the minimum of this number is going to be -1. As simple as that. Cos of anything cannot fall below -1. So if you want the minimum, I will have to have this to be -1. In which case, theta minus phi must be taken as pi actually. Yeah, it is fine then. Okay, so the maximum both will come from the same expression, and that will be plus root A square plus B square for the max and negative of that for the minimum. Fine. Okay, that will be all for today. By the way, we just take up the triangles next class, whenever that is. I'll inform you with that. Okay, if the exams are there, then I'll just give a holiday for a couple of weeks. But if not, then we shall continue. Okay, that'll be all for today. You can now leave and have your dinner. Enjoy. Yes, you can leave. I said, Suveksha, depending on what is the decision. Yeah, good night, everyone. If I said that if the exams are scheduled, in that case, I will leave you for a couple of weeks. But tomorrow class is from 6:30. Yes, tomorrow class will be there at 6:30 a.m. Yeah, tomorrow morning do have a class. Okay, let us wait for a decision tomorrow and then we can just decide. From next Saturday onwards, I'll inform you about that. Okay. Okay, fine.